First March, the Office of Director of National Intelligence released the annual threat assessment of the U.S. intelligence community. An excerpt from the report reads, quote, "China remains the most active and persistent cyber threat to U.S. government, private sector, and critical infrastructure networks," unquote. Chinese Communist Party poses as a significant threat to the safety and economic prosperity of the United States. Through a multi-pronged strategy that includes the Belt and Road Initiative, economic coercion, and military buildup, the CCP has sought to challenge the American-led rules-based international order. As part of its larger campaign to conduct asymmetric attacks on the United States, Beijing has turned to cyber attacks to steal American companies' intellectual property, undermine our civil society, and disrupt civilian and military infrastructure. Just 2 months ago, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, confirmed that CCP-sponsored groups like Volt Typhoon have successfully infiltrated the federal government's civilian and military systems. What's more, some of those groups have been on our networks for up to 5 years and lay in wait until the opportune moment to disrupt a military response or to disable our water and power infrastructure. Unfortunately, when it comes to cyber warfare, the threat extends beyond China. In fact, experts have identified that not just China, but also Iran and North Korea are using Russia's well-known disinformation playbook to disrupt elections, infiltrate American companies, and generally cause malign behavior. Although disinformation campaigns and cyber attacks are not identical, they are two halves of the same chaotic coin. They similarly seek to inject uncertainty into daily operations and undermine the foundation of businesses, communities, and democratic values and tenets. Last November, Meta released its third quarter adversarial report, which outlined the removal of nearly 5,000 fake accounts, all based in China. Meta removed those accounts for impersonating U.S. citizens and posting divisive rhetoric on deeply sensitive internal political issues with the intent to have an impact on the upcoming 2024 presidential election. It's not just America at risk. Earlier this year, the CCP again employed Moscow's tactics of online disinformation to cast doubt upon Taiwan's government and to influence its recent elections. China has made a concerted effort to extend its power and influence across the world, especially in the global south. As roughly half of the world's population heads to the polls in 2024, China will take this opportunity, no question, to expand its influence and disrupt democratic processes using all tactics at hand. Fortunately, the Biden-Harris administration has taken unprecedented steps to counter these threats, both direct cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns. The White House released the first ever National Cybersecurity Strategy in October of 2022, directing both public and private stakeholders to coordinate efforts to address new ambitious plans called the International Cyberspace and Digital Policy Strategy, seeking to work with allies to counter both Russia and China's global election interference efforts. I'm also proud to have partnered with this administration to safeguard networks against harmful nation-state actors. Historically, this subcommittee has held hearings to conduct meaningful oversight of federal IT programs and worked alongside the Government Accountability Office to produce a biannual scorecard on compliance with FTAR. Agencies then receive grades based on compliance with the law and other statutory-based IT priorities. Scorecard assesses compliance with the Federal Information Security Modernization Act, FISMA, evaluating all 24 CFO Act agency cybersecurity postures. For further transparency, and after years of congressional advocacy for metrics to replace the expiring Trump-era cross-agency priority data, OMB finally began publishing quarterly federal cybersecurity progress reports on performance on a performance.gov website. These reports measure agencies' progress in achieving milestones and implementing key cybersecurity measures articulated in President Biden's executive order on improving the nation's cybersecurity. The executive order encouraged adoption of zero trust architecture and I encourage the administration to evolve the performance.gov data and provide public metrics in order to assess agencies' implementation. To successfully stop our foreign adversaries, we need a whole-of-government approach with bipartisan congressional support to bolster our federal workforce and its IT infrastructure. And we need a whole-of-nation approach to combat the disinformation and misinformation coming out of Russia and China. A report from the Center for Security and Emerging Technology found that, quote, by 2025, Chinese universities will produce more than 77,000 STEM PhD graduates per year, compared to approximately 40,000, almost half that, here in the United States. If international students are excluded from that number of the United States, Chinese STEM PhD graduates would outnumber their U.S. counterparts by more than 3 to 1. 3 to 1. For our country to compete effectively with China, we need to implement the Office of the National Cyber Director's National Cyber Workforce and Education Strategies recommendations and bolster our cyber workforce and cyber faculty pipelines. We'll soon introduce legislation to enhance the already highly successful Cyber Corps program, which boasts an impressive 97% successful job placement rate. When passed, I hope that legislation will extend the scholarship cap of this program from 3 to 5 years and provide a pathway for more STEM-trained PhDs. We must properly fund the cyber defenses and basic government IT by reauthorizing and properly funding the TMF. In 2021, Democrats fought to secure $1 billion investment for that program, although the President had requested $6 billion. Today, the TMF has funded 11 Zero Trust efforts, as well as numerous other cyber projects to protect our military and sensitive information while retiring vulnerable legacy systems. Congress usually sees IT as an easy thing to cut, but in most cases, IT modernization is a critical investment with a critical return on it with respect to the future. Pandemic exposed the cracks in the federal government's aging IT infrastructure and how it impeded mission-driven programs. Upgrading those systems is not just a national security priority. It's essential to making sure government stays effective and serves the people. State-sponsored cybersecurity and disinformation campaigns seek to undermine the very fabric of our society. Cyber attacks wreak chaos and prove costly. Disinformation campaigns obscure the truth and threaten democratic principles. We must work to resist and oppose both. I look forward to the hearing, and I look forward to hearing from our witnesses. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I yield back.